and we're all going to die.
Howdy and welcome, fellow Revengers. I'm Mike, I'm your board gaming every dude. So you want to play a board game solo, an adventure board game, but you can only get one. What do you pick? Let's look at them right now. We're going to take a look at 3 games. First of all, Lost Ruins of Arnak, Robinson Crusoe, and this one's way too big, Fortune and Glory. Let's meet each one. Hi, I'm Fortune and Glory. I enjoy taking long treks around the world, fighting Nazis and mobsters, and pretty much always taking them down.
Oh, hi guys. Hi. I'm Lost Ruins of Arnak.
I really like researching. Lots of reading and writing.
I'm Robinson Crusoe, and I don't really like anything because we're all gonna die.
All right, those are great introductions. So how about y'all tell me a little more about yourselves?
I'm so glad you asked. It would be my pleasure. I'm Fortune and Glory. I am designed by Jason C. Hill. I have a very short memory, that's why I have to consult my notes. The artist is Jack Scott Hill. Some awesome 80s inspired images that remind you of Indiana Jones, and I'm published by Flying Frog Productions. As far as mechanics, all kinds, we've got quite a bit of push your luck where you may or may not run out of a temple with the treasure, or that temple will collapse and crush you, or the Nazis and the mobsters will annihilate you. But there's also plenty of area control and several other mechanics. So glad to meet you. I'd be the best BFF.
I would love to tell you all about myself. I have memory problems sometimes, so I'm going to use my notes. Lost Ruins of Arnak. I came into existence just in 2020. I'm really young and really cool, and lots of people love me. I was designed by 2 people, Elwin and Min. I have no idea if those are first or last names, and that's okay. The artist, well, there's just too many to name, so I'm going to let you look them up, but they did such a fantastic job. Don't you see that? I just absolutely love it. My 2 biggest mechanics, of course, include deck building. You can build a deck of items and artifacts. It's quite fantastic in order to gain yourself more treasure. You can also do some worker placement by sending 2 workers, sometimes more, with a very specific card in order to search ruins, fight guardians, and just find cool stuff. But there's also a very nice element of researching. I love researching. And the more you learn, the more you know, the more treasure you have.
Sure. I mean, I don't really care, but I'm published by Portal Games, and I was designed by Ignacy Chevicek. No one knows if I'm saying that right, and I don't know who the artist is, so I'll have to check. But I'm an adventure game where you take part in some explorers who get shipwrecked on a really dangerous island, and you slowly explore this island and uncover new dangers and treasures as you explore the islands. And that sounds great, except then it starts raining and you die, or if you don't die, then you starve to death and then you die. Or if you don't starve to death, then you go to hunt an animal and you succeed, only then the tribesmen kill you and you die. Or if the tribesmen don't kill you, then there's this big giant volcano, and then, you know, it explodes and you die.
My greatest strength is definitely my sense of risk and adventure, particularly in the cliffhanger moments. So when you go to collect treasure from a ruin or to explore a ruin, you have some choices to make where you may be able to advance by rolling the dice and successfully retrieve some treasure and gain yourself some fortune and glory. Or if you roll badly, you just might get taken out by some baddies and find yourself in a cliffhanger where your turn ends and you are left to wait for some very bad, difficult consequence on your next turn. Isn't that amazing? But the suspense.
What's my greatest strength? That's easy. Researching. I love researching and climbing the research track in order to get more treasures. but my other strength is also just the experience of climbing up this beautiful board to explore more super cool locations and get more super cool items. And there's also quite a bit of variability in the challenge because there are two sides to the board. One side's a little easier than the other side.
My biggest strength is definitely that we all get united in death because we're all going to die. But you can do a lot even though you know you're going to die, like build a shelter for real, a real shelter with a palisade, which is a fancy word for a fence. And that fence is still not going to save you, but you can try. And you can also build a roof, and you can hunt exotic animals, and you can discover really cool local people, and then they tie you up and try to eat you and you die. But if you don't, you can also do all sorts of things like build cool places and go running in the rain, and like the picture, they look so happy, so you can pretend like you're happy. But no matter what, you'll have a good story to leave behind after you die.
Well, that question was way too easy. So how about you tell me, what is your biggest weakness?
Well, it's pretty hard to find a weakness in this, but if I do have one, it's that there can be a little bit too much going on, a little bit too much to keep track of, especially if you use the extra modules like the zeppelins and the temples. But the temples in particular, they're just so fun. You gotta put them in there. But yeah, it can be a bit overwhelming. And sometimes the theme, every now and then you get a card that makes absolutely no sense and just kind of ignore that and pretend it didn't happen. My greatest weakness, I guess, is unlike these other two that are so dependent on stories, I don't really have much of a story at all. I'm some colored wooden meeples that don't really have names, and all of the different players have the exact same characteristics. There's no asymmetry between your player boards, which maybe some like that as a strength. Some might think it's a weakness. You decide.
My greatest weakness is everything, but especially my instruction booklet, because I tell a great story, but you might fall asleep while reading my instruction booklet because it's very thorough and sometimes too thorough. So you might end up dying from boredom while reading the instruction book. But other than that, everything else is a weakness too, because I love weakness, and we're all going to die.
All right, let's say we were going on our very first game night together. What would that look like?
Bro, our first game night, I have a motorcycle from 1947 with a little sidecar on it. Sidecar's all yours, don't worry, I got you. And we are going to go through some nice little European towns as fast as we can, dodge some bullets, maybe get shot here or there. Don't worry, we'll heal the wounds. It's going to be a great time. Oh, absolutely. I would love to tell you about our first solo BFF Best Buddies board game night. We are going to each sit down at a table with some coffee or tea or water and a journal and some books and a pen. And do you know what we're going to do? We're going to research.
I would love to. If I'm your solo adventure board game BFF and we survive to our very first board game night, what we'll do is we will each write our own eulogy. So that way we'll all be thinking happy thoughts before we all die.
All right, well, I've gotten to get to know each one of you, so which one should you get if you can only get one solo adventure board game? Let it be known, these are all great games. But Fortune and Glory, fantastic, too much going on, too much to keep track of, and kind of hard to find. So you are not my solo adventure board game BFF right now. Fantastic game though, get it if you have a second choice. Next up, all right, this one took the world by storm, Lost Ruins of Arnak. And it's beautiful, it's good for entry level, about mid-weight. You can buy it everywhere, but it's empty on theme. Now, the solo campaign that you can print out, which I would like to play through on this channel, so stay tuned for that, may change that. But it's empty enough on story that, though this is an amazing game, I recommend it. I'm sorry, it is not my solo adventure board game BFF, which leaves us with, you know what it's called, You're Gonna Die. That's right, Robinson Crusoe, and there's a Kickstarter coming out soon, and we'll see if maybe that makes it a little easier for entry level. So for all its flaws, many flaws, oh my goodness, this game is an adventure game. You are surviving against the elements and the animals and exploring. It just takes the cake. So if you can only get one solo adventure board game BFF, it is Robinson Crusoe. So, you like these types of games, particularly if you like Lost Ruins of Arnak, check my video, the solo playthrough of Dune Imperium. I love you guys. See you later.